Welcome back to the channel. Today we're reading Taking Hold, Chapter 21, Crossing the Line. For those of you following along, that is on page 161. Let's get started. Even though I was not able to do my PhD dissertation on Mexican American literature, the opportunity to work on that topic came up when several Mexican American undergraduate students from Columbia College came to my office and asked if I could offer them a class on Mexican American literature and culture in the fall semester. Thrilled at the possibility, I told them that I would have to check with the administration and that I would be willing to guide them only in research projects, using a seminar or independent study format because I was not well versed in the subject. It will be a collaborative effort, I said. We'll learn together. They agreed and were enthusiastic to enroll in the class. Based on the discussion Professor Duarte and I had about selecting a topic for my dissertation, I anticipated resistance from the administration, so I worked extra hard in designing a syllabus for the course. I met with Professor Redondo in her office and discussed the study plan and idea for the new class. Initially, she seemed reluctant because I was scheduled to teach an intermediate Spanish class and a survey course on Hispanic literature. Let me think. We can make adjustments, she said, looking at me over her reading glasses and smiling. I can't thank you enough, Professora, I said. The students will be very happy. Don't count on it yet, she said. I need to submit this plan to Professor Michael Refatieri for his approval. I have an appointment to see him tomorrow morning. I'll discuss it with him then. Michael Refatieri was a professor of French in the Department of French and Romance Philology and was appointed interim chairman of the Department of Spanish and Portuguese Studies. The next day I went to see Professor Redondo de Feldman, eager to know the decision. Professor Refatieri was skeptical, she said, but he said he would think about it and get back to us. Thank you very much, Professor, I said. I was disappointed, but not surprised, and remained cautiously hopeful. 2 days later, I received a letter from Professor Refatieri through inter-campus mail. It read, after a consultation with my colleagues, I should like to inform you that the Spanish department will allow you to teach on your own time and without financial compensation a course on literature of Mexican Americans. This course should not be taken for credit, nor could it be included in our official bulletin. I am sure you understand that these restrictions are advisable in view of the very tentative nature of this experiment. I have no doubt, however, that its best hope to succeed is the fact that you will be teaching it. I was glad he endorsed the class, but angry at his terms, which I interpreted as an attempt to discourage me. I immediately sent him a response through intercampus mail with copies to Professor Redondo, Professor Duarte, and the dean of the college. I wrote, thank you, Professor Refatieri, for approving the course. I accept all your conditions except one, that this course should not be taken for credit. I feel that it's unfair and unjust to expect students to do the work and not give them credit for it. I'd appreciate it if you would reconsider this restriction. Professor Redondo and Professor Duarte called to tell me that they had read my letter and had contacted the dean of the college to advise him to approve my course for credit. Thank you, I told them. Your support, no matter the outcome, means a lot to me. 2 days later, I received a copy of the letter that Michael Rosenthal, the associate dean of the college, wrote to Professor Refatieri. It read, as there has been much confusion surrounding the establishment of Chicano students of an independent study course this term with Mr. Jiménez, I think it reasonable to put in writing what my current understanding is. I am all in favor of Mr. Jiménez taking on students for independent study in Mexican American literature with the syllabus, the specific projects, and the grades, all coming under his jurisdiction. The course would be for 3 points and would be included under the already existing category of the Latin American seminar, C3812Y, Special arrangements will be made for this course to be taken for 3 points instead of the 4 listed in the catalog. If Mr. Jiménez will submit to me a list of the students, I will take care of this. I hope this view bears some relationships to the facts of what will actually happen. Thanks for putting up with much unnecessary trouble. I was insulted by the cynical tone of the letter, especially the last paragraph, but I was pleased with the end result. I went to see Professor Duarte and Redondo, de Feldman, to share the news and to thank them personally for their help. Even though I taught the Mexican-American literature class without financial compensation and on my own time, the rewards were many. Besides working with talented students and learning from them, I conducted research on sources and themes in this body of work, focusing on the Teatro Campesino, the Chicano theatrical troupe founded by Luis Valdez in 1965 to support Cesar Chavez's efforts to unionize farm workers. I also co-founded the bilingual review, La Revista Bilingüe, a scholarly journal and literature magazine. Although it focused primarily on bilingualism, the publication also served as an outlet for creative writers. Those workers dealt with Hispanic themes relating particularly to Hispanic life in the United States. At the end of the fall semester, I met with Professor Duarte in his office for the third time that term to talk about my dissertation research. ¿Cómo están, Laura y Pancholin? He asked. Professor Duarte gave our son the nickname Pancholin because Pancho is the name for Francisco and Lin sounded Italian and musical. They're doing fine, thank you. Pancholin is a bundle of energy and is beginning to crawl. He likes it when we put him in the stroller and take him on walks around the campus. He loves being around people. I'm glad to hear that, he said. Sounds like my mom. He paused and turned his attention to my research. I have some information that will help you on your dissertation, he said. He reached into his desk drawer, took out a folded piece of paper, handed it to me, and added, This is Salado Alvarez's granddaughter's address in Mexico City. She has all of his papers. I've written to her about you and your research. You should contact her. I will. Thank you, I said. By the way, Professor Redondo shared with me a piece you wrote for her advanced expression and style class about a migrant child who yearns to receive a red ball for Christmas. It's very moving. Thank you, I said, feeling emotional and proud. It's based on a personal experience. Así me lo imaginaba, I thought, so he leaned forward in his chair and added, Cuéntame más de esas experiencias. Tell me more about those experiences. I briefly told him about my family crossing the border illegally, all of us working in the fields, missing school, my father's illness, and passing my janitorial job on to my younger sibling, so that with financial aid I could attend the University of Santa Clara, where I took on a few part-time jobs to pay for personal expenses and to send money home. This is fascinating. You should write your story and publish it, he said emphatically. He reached out and placed his hand on my shoulder and gave me an intense, caring look. You must. I was touched and surprised by his suggestion. When I was in college, I began to jot down memories of my childhood. I said, but have not written anything systematically. That's a good start, he said. Pulling out a small book from the shelf, the title was Un Niño en la Revolución Mexicana, a child in the Mexican Revolution. It's an autobiography of when I was a boy during the Mexican Revolution. He explained I was living with Romulo Gallegos and Gabriela Mistral and other writers in Spain in the midst of the Spanish Civil War. When I started writing it, he picked up his pen, signed the copy, and handed it to me. Here, I hope this encourages you to write your own story. I was deeply moved by his gift and his advice. He reminded me of my sophomore high school English teacher, Miss Bell, who told me I had writing talent and reading an essay. After reading an essay I wrote for her class about my younger brother, Trumpita. Thanks to Professor Eduardo's encouragement, I went back to my notes and reworked 2 pieces. Muerta Fria, Cold Death, and Un Aguinaldo, a Christmas gift. As I was writing, I realized that my story was not unique. There were many families and their children who had gone through experiences similar to the ones my family and I had lived through. I then recalled Cesar Chavez's speech about justice and human dignity at the end of the march to Sacramento. If you are outraged at conditions that you cannot possibly be free or happy until you devote all your time to changing them and do nothing but that, he said. Fighting for social justice, it seems to me, is one of the profoundest ways in which men can say yes to human dignity. And that really means sacrifice. The best source of power, the best source of hope is straight from you, the people. When I first heard that speech, I had looked at the banner of the Virgin de Guadalupe and, feeling deeply the suffering and pain of migrant workers, asked myself, what can and should I do in my life to help them? I did not have the answer then, but now I did. I would write to document part of my family's history and, more important, to chronicle the lives of many migrant families from the past and present and draw attention to their plight. I sent the 2 vignettes to El Grito, Journal of Contemporary Mexican American Thought, a literature journal published by Quinto Sol Publications in Berkeley, California. I had come across it while doing research for my class on Mexican American literature. I also wrote a rough draft of another piece, La Mudanza, The Move, which I later titled The Circuit. Laura and I were ecstatic when I received a letter from the editor informing me that both works were accepted for publication in Prosa Chicana Contemporaneana, Contemporary Chicano Prose, a special issue of El Grito, which also included writings by Rodolfo Anaya Rolando Hinojosa, Estela Portillo de Tremblay, and Thomas Rivera. It was scheduled to appear in the spring of the following year. This wonderful news gave me the confidence and increased my desire to continue writing autobiographical pieces. However, knowing that I had to have a PhD and produce a body of scholarly research and publications if I were to earn tenure at Columbia or elsewhere, I set aside writing stories about my childhood and turned my attention to completing my dissertation. That is the end of chapter 21. Hope you enjoyed it and tune back in for more.